All right, we are live. Now, if you are watching this video, this is a posted video, and as I always say, if you guys don't want to miss the morning live streams or kind of afternoon live streams, make sure to please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. We do this every morning. I give you guys the new and breaking news or developing stories. We were already live this morning, just like an hour ago. We went through the entire Tom Homan press conference. We're going to do some snippets of what happened in the press conference. This is an interactive show, so we get to hear your comments. In this video, we're also going to be going through some other stuff, of course. As many of you are aware, there is a new Alex Preddy video. We have some comments on that. The other really big story is that Pam Bondi, she's making those arrests. A lot of people have been arrested here recently. 16 recently on the record, as far as like very publicly known here. Protesters who crossed that line. Now, to be clear, these are not the church protesters. I'm still waiting to see what happens with that. What else do we got going on for you guys? We have a lot of rhetoric from lawmakers, Democrat and Republican, as far as how Noem has been performing, the possibility of a government shutdown, commenting on the operations in Minnesota. We have some comments from Governor Tim Walz. The mayor of Minneapolis, they did a whole, the mayor of Minneapolis did a town hall meeting. We get to see what he has to say. That was on CNN. And we got some other stuff for you as well. So at baseline, just wanted to let you guys know what we're getting into here. So if you guys are joining the chat, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys are please liking the live stream so the other T-SPLY subscribers can see what's going on. All right. Thank you guys again, and God bless all of you, and God bless to the people who are still affected by that storm. If you guys are unaware, there are still people without power, so prayers to you. So let's go ahead and start with some of this Tom Homan press conference. And I think right off the bat, you'll notice very different tone than what we are used to. We are very used to a Chief Bovino getting on the mic and letting everyone know how he feels. I think with Tom Homan, you'll notice a little more diplomatic, if you will. And you'll see what I mean as we go through this. Again, I know we went through the entire press conference an hour ago. We're not going to do that here. We're just going to go through some of these clips so you understand what's going on now, because there's a lot going on. We've sort of changed the tactics a little bit.
Identifying removal aliens that pose a public safety threat and national security threats, and the numbers prove it. The data proves it. In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Frey, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership with Minnesota, your communities. I'll be meeting with them too, because I want to hear what they have to say.
So first thing right here, right off the bat, this is Tom Homan's first press conference, and one of the very first things he started with is that I'm talking to everyone. Everybody. I want to see what they have to say. I want to see how maybe we have to adapt the tactics. And Tom Homan keeps saying over and over that the dialogue has been good so far. Not perfect. We have disagreements, but the dialogue is good. So first recap, or the first really big highlight of that press conference is the more openness to talk to everyone. As we know, one of the biggest complaints from the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor is that allegedly there were no lines of communication. I know how some of you feel about that, because in other interviews we were told there were lines of communication from them, but
those individuals as well, and to the folks out there in America that voted for this, that want mass deportations because they saw a mass invasion under Joe Biden. What would you say to them? How are we going to get to that point?
Well, first of all, about the organization and the funding of the attacks on ICE. I'm not going to answer a lot about that, because I'm not going to show our hand, but they'll be held accountable.
there's still a lot up in the air as far as many of you know, the signal chats or the group organizations, the dispatchers who let people know that ICE is in the area. There's still a lot up in the air, and Tom Homan, I'm sure you saw him smirk a little bit. He might know something we don't know. And here recently, Tom Homan has been talking about like, hey, we're looking into it. But the Trump administration keeps acknowledging they're looking into that. And by the way, if you are new here, this isn't like the most one-sided show. We go back and forth between the political spectrum. So make sure to please like and subscribe. I give you guys all the different talking points. But we're just reviewing what Tom Homan had to say.
Justice is coming. Again, we got to all remember why the questions we've seen and why we're here. What started this? 4 years of an open border, where millions of people are letting this country unvetted. Remember, let's not forget, for 4 years, we were told the border is secure.
Arresting.
Okay. So again, Tom Homan saying like, hey, if you cross that line, you know, we can still come after you. Now, this is the big one. This is the really big one, and this is going to be like the last recap. Tom Homan set the tone for this press conference to be like, hey, we're talking to everyone. We're actually going to be downsizing the federal force in Minnesota. But don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean that if you are an illegal immigrant, it doesn't mean all of a sudden like you're safe, you're good to go. Tom Homan often says you're still on the table. And I think he wanted to reiterate that so that like this narrative doesn't get twisted. So for those of you that don't like deportations and you see Tom Homan coming into Minneapolis and Chief Bovino's gone, I have said this like 5 times now. I would be very careful with that because I think Tom Homan has a lot more power than people realize as far as if he wants more federal assets, he can get it. If he wants less federal assets, he can do that. Tom Homan right now has direct lines of communication to the Trump administration. Definition now.
All operations will be targeted, but the prioritization are going to be criminal aliens, public safety threats, and national security threats. I've met with Marcos and his staff. We got a lot of them. We got a lot of them to keep us busy. So that would be our focus.
If that is enough, that's what, there is not going to be a focus on people who have no other crimes except for their status.
If you're in the country illegally, you're never off the table. You know, but prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody. So let me say this. If the message we send is you can enter this country illegally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. You can have your due process, show up in court, not show up in court, get ordered removed, don't worry about it. Unless you commit a serious crime, you're good to go. If that's the message we send to the world, you're never going to fix this problem. The most vulnerable people in the world will make that dangerous journey like they did under the Joe Biden administration. Over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. And again, a significant increase in sex trafficking. Because when they did that and opened those borders up saying, we're not going to detain you, we're going to give you free health care, we're going to fly you to the city of your choice, put you in a free hotel room, give you 3 meals a day, and give you work authorization, we're just going to bring you in. And when they did that, they sent a message to the whole world, you can come and do this. And what happened? They overwhelmed the men and women of the Border Patrol, where many days 70% of agents were pulled off that line. 70%. You don't think the criminal cars had a field day with that?
So there you go. Again, Tom Homan is saying, don't get it twisted. Just because I'm coming in here a little more peaceful, a little more diplomatic, and I'm having these conversations, I think he wanted to make it clear, do not get it twisted. If you are an illegal immigrant, as he always says, you're still on the table for a deportation. So those were pretty much the main talking points with that press conference. More peaceful dialogue, downsizing federal agents, but honoring the detainers. Everything is going to be based off of whether or not Minnesota as a state, the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul and other cities, will honor the detainers, people in prisons and jail. Tom Homan later in the press conference actually says, I'm not naive. I'm not going to turn my back, but I am going to hope that they honor the detainers. And so, look, if they don't honor the detainers, you're always going to have a lot more federal agents wherever you are. That's just the way the Trump administration works. That's how Tom Homan operates. If you don't cooperate, we have to send more federal agents. If you do cooperate, we don't need thousands upon thousands of agents here. So, and I think that's why there's a lot of people, what's the word? A lot of people are not necessarily trusting the mayor of Minneapolis or the governor of Minnesota. We just have to wait and see. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a lot of people right now in Minneapolis as far as legal entities, and Tom Homan there as well. And I already played this before in my previous morning show, but just so you guys are aware, I'll just play it for those of you who didn't see this. I think this is the final message we will ever get from Chief Bovino, unless somehow, which I don't think it'll happen, I'm just going to be honest with you, he gets reactivated. But this is the final short message I think we're going to get from Chief Bovino for those of you who didn't see this, just real quick.
Team, behind me are a few individuals there. That's the original turn and burn. The folks that helped make America. But you know what? I'm very proud of what you, the Mean Green Machine, are doing in Minneapolis right now, just like you've done it across the United States over these past tough 9 months. And I want you to know that you're the modern day equivalent. Turn and burn. Makes me very proud. I also want you to know that I've got your back now and always. I love you, I support you, and I salute you.
So, there you go. The final salute, in my opinion, from Mr. Bovino. And, you know, it is what it is at this point. It looks like the Trump administration is pivoting how they do their operations as far as in the interior of the country. Now, what we know so far is that Chief Bovino has been sent back to his sector, which is already very busy in California. It's not like he's done with his mission, but as far as deploying to these separate cities and locations in the United States, maybe we'll get a new Chief Bovino, but yeah, I think we won't. I personally think we will not be seeing Chief Bovino unless something gets reactivated. So that's that. This is really big to me. I know on my YouTube channel, I have to find it. Those of you who are subscribed to my channel, you may remember I used to say this all the time. Like 3 months ago, I started to point out, man, we are starting to see ICE agents really start to troll or talk back to the protesters who are messing with the ICE agents. I don't know if anyone who subscribed to me might remember that. I have to find the video because I used to say it all the time. Now we're being told an order has been given, do not talk to or interact with the protesters. Unless it's a actual command like, hey, stand down, back up, you're obstructing, or a warning. The very first time we really saw this on a scale, which was like on the mainstream media where federal agents were kind of giving it back to the protesters, was in Portland. In Portland, out of nowhere, on the megaphone, the Portland agents at the ICE building had a Trump voice, and they were giving that warning to please back up. This is a federal zone. You need to get out of the driveway. And they used a Trump voice. Confirmed, unconfirmed, they got in trouble for that, and we didn't hear that for a while. But then we started to see more and more federal agents really give it back to protesters. It looks like now, this has been confirmed by multiple sources, agents were told you can't do that anymore. So we'll see whether or not if that's true. I will be looking through the different clips as I always do all day, and we'll see. Will federal agents still be, giving it back to the protesters or not? And when I say protesters, we're talking about like ICE watchers or people who follow ICE, things like that. The other really big news, you may have heard about this as well. I'm pleased to nominate Colin McDonald to serve as the first ever Assistant Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement, a new division. So obviously you guys know deportations is not the only thing the Trump administration is focusing on. Also fraud. So that's brand new. Again, we'll see what happens with that. Literally brand new. That's like a day old.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says she is here in Minneapolis to announce these charges. The charges against 16 individuals who allegedly attacked federal agents conducting immigration operations here in the Twin Cities. Now, she says this on Twitter: "We expect more arrests to come. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing will stop President Trump and this Department of Justice from enforcing the law." DOJ has been very active in bringing charges against anti-ICE protesters. And while a lot of of those cases have ultimately been thrown out or dropped, it is clear they are trying to send a message about obstructing federal immigration operations. Notably, in the protest at a church in St. Paul just a couple of weeks ago that shut down that worship service, 3 people have been charged, and we know DOJ is actively trying to bring charges against a handful of others in that case.
Yeah, and we are still waiting to see what happens with that. I'm sure some names come to mind as far as who might get arrested, who might not get arrested with that church protest. I think some people are rather confused as to how the judge allowed for certain protesters to be arrested, but not the others who may or may not have been involved, or at least were on camera. But it is true, as of right now, we are seeing an influx of more and more of your, I guess we can say, everyday protesters who may or may not be involved with, like, anti-ICE rhetoric, especially in Minneapolis.
Despite all of that, protests here are not slowing down as the calls to hold those officers responsible for the shooting of Renee Good and Alex Preddy to be held accountable.
All right. Let us move forward. And again, don't worry. We will be getting to the other side of the spectrum here soon. Just getting through all this news right now. Now, I'm sure you guys heard about this. The 2 Border Patrol agents who engaged with Alex Preddy have been put on administrative leave. Now, to my understanding, this is like policy to begin with. And I think most police forces, you do get put on leave. Even if you have done nothing wrong or did something wrong during the investigation, you get put on leave. You guys can fact check me on that, but I'm almost positive that's always the policy.
And Jen, thank you. Sandra?
All right, Bill, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is doubling down on his city sanctuary policy despite meeting with the border czar, Tom Homan. President Trump responding on Truth Social saying, quote, "Could somebody in his inner sanctum please explain that this statement is a very serious violation of the law and that he is playing with fire?" Matt Finn has more from Minneapolis for us. Matt, before we get to that, you've got some breaking news for us?
Yes, DHS confirms to Fox News, Sandra, that 2 Border Patrol agents who fired their weapons during the shooting death of Alex Preddy here in Minneapolis have now been placed on administrative leave. DHS says this is not anything suspicious, but just routine. Now, also happening here in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I'm almost positive again. Every time I watch, I apologize for how loud that was. Almost any time I watch like a police investigation, maybe not even as high profile as this that involves, an investigation with a shooting, there's always a disclaimer that they have been put on administrative leave. Now, again, this is not an admission of guilt, but it is something notable.
After Mayor Frey's meeting with Tom Homan yesterday, Frey said he will not comply with federal immigration law. President Trump responded, as you said, saying he's playing with fire. So then this morning, Mayor Frey reacted to President Trump, saying the job of our police department is to keep people safe, not enforce Fed immigration laws. I want them.
Okay, so yeah, again, a lot of back and forth and a little bit of confusion or maybe mistrust from the right side of the political spectrum as far as can we really trust the mayor of Minneapolis. The mayor of Minneapolis keeps saying we want to find and fight criminals, and I got some more clips for you here very soon, sort of reiterating that. If you guys are unaware, if you go to Pam Bondi's social media, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, or you can go to Homeland Security, they actually released some of the names and the pictures, or really all the names, of who was arrested. And if you guys want, you can do that on your own time, but I'm just trying to show you guys. Yeah, they are, they're posting all the pictures and posting all the receipts. Now, again, you are innocent until proven guilty. And as noted on Fox News, they were saying some of these cases, if not a lot more than people realize, have actually been dropped already, but people are being arrested. Mic volume a little low. Let me fix that. Is this better for you guys? Can you guys hear me a lot better? We saw that. All right. Now, the other big news, I'm not going to play the clip. I'm just going to assume you may have seen it or heard about it. There is new footage of Alex Preddy as far as a video of him like kicking a vehicle and spitting that was released by the BBC. And now people are commenting on it.
That's his perspective. Scott?
Yeah, look, I think the video that we've seen adds context to what he was probably doing over a period of time. I think the narrative has been that he was just an innocent protester or some sort of an observer. It's obvious he was part of some organized effort to show up where federal law enforcement was and engage in some way, whether that engagement was recording or blowing whistles or whatever, or in the video's case, kicking in the taillight of a car. He was obviously there to do something. That doesn't supersede the need to have an investigation of the shooting. I support an investigation of the shooting. I will say, I think the investigation needs to be holistic, and I care more about just the shooting. I care about, where did Alex Preddy come from? What part of it, what group was he in? Was he part of any kind of a training organization? I mean, I think what's going on in Minneapolis is more than just random people showing up to protest. I believe.
Now, I really did my best to find the counter argument to this from a more left-leaning perspective. As we know, Scott Jennings is a Republican conservative. It's actually very hard to find as far as a direct comment on the second video that's come out. I will do my best to look for some sort of reactions. How do you feel about the new video? Just so you guys know, it was very hard to find that.
And there's lots of evidence about this, that there are well-organized, well-trained, and well-funded agitators who are showing up with the purpose of provoking these kinds of incidents so that they can then create the narrative that somehow ICE is out of control.
No, but where you see professional agitators, I see courageous citizens who have a righteous indignation and a moral outrage when their city, and this is Prince's city now, you know, it's Sign of the Times, 1987, when it's being terrorized, it's being traumatized. Communities are being vilified and demonized.
Okay, so that's that clip. Again, if it's out there, I will do my best to find it. But as far as a direct response to, like, how do you feel about this clip, I haven't really been able to find it to give you a more balanced perspective, if you will, as far as like, hey, like, this is out there. Does that change your perspective at all? It's hard to find, so I apologize for that. Let's go here real quick. The big push right now is this Kristi Noem, getting her fired, impeached, getting rid of Kristi Noem right now as far as rhetoric coming from the left-leaning perspective, politicians who are Democrats.
And as for President Trump, it's not enough for Donald Trump to meekly suggest he disagrees with the words of Stephen Miller calling Preddy an assassin. Donald Trump is the president and he needs to act like it. He needs to send a message and make an example of his deputies who deliberately lie to the country in moments of crisis. But you can see, again, Donald Trump lies all the time. We see it every night on the news. And so all the people below him believe it's okay to lie too, even vicious lies like the one cast at Mr. Preddy. Instead of holding his own administration accountable for lying about Alex Preddy, Donald Trump continues to blame Alex Preddy for his own death. He said yesterday Preddy should not have been carrying a gun. The president seems to have forgotten the words of the Second Amendment, quote, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Apparently for Donald Trump, if you're a Trump supporter, it's okay to be a lawful gun owner. But if you're against Donald Trump, it's not. You don't have that right. Finally, it's outrageous that Kristi Noem still has a job in the administration after federal officers murdered 2 American citizens in just 2 weeks.
Now, as we've been going through a lot of the talking points and a lot of the clips, every single morning we talk about this stuff. Again, if you're new here, make sure to please subscribe, turn on your notifications. We go through the whole spectrum of talking points. You may have noticed a shift in the talking points. At first, like 2 weeks ago, it started to build up of ICE reform or abolishing ICE. Then there was a realization that ICE is already funded, so maybe let's just talk about Homeland Security as a whole. Now it's sort of shifting into let's isolate maybe a particular person or problem. Now it's sort of shifting into, hey, Kristi Noem, and I'm about to show you guys that. Maybe it's Kristi Noem's fault. She's the one at the top. Maybe we can get rid of her. So you guys are probably noticing this too, really this shift or development in talking points. We're really moving into the Kristi Noem impeachment, fired type speech.
And it is even more disgusting that on each occasion, Kristi Noem lies about what took place. For the good of the country.
Okay. Now, just to give you guys some more evidence as to why I would make that talking point. Here's Sarah McBride.
Kristi Noem this week, then House Democrats will move to begin impeachment proceedings against her next week when we return to session. The House is currently out of session this week. I'm down in Sussex County today, a county with a significant immigrant population. But regardless of where I am in Delaware, red areas or blue areas, one of the things that I most consistently hear from constituents, people who hold a range of positions on immigration policy, is that they are outraged and disgusted by what they are seeing unfold before their very eyes.
Now, look, these talking points are not necessarily new or unique. We know that a lot of Democrats are not the biggest fans of these deportations. The way that they've been done have probably not been the biggest fans of Kristi Noem. But now we're starting to see more of an isolation of the talking points, specifically honing in on Kristi Noem with this impeachment talk.
The abridgment of due process for our immigrant neighbors. The killing, the murder of American citizens in our streets. ICE and CBP are out of control. And it's one of the reasons why I voted against the DHS funding bill last week. It's why I was one of the first House Democrats to endorse impeachment of Kristi Noem and why I was an original co-sponsor of the articles of impeachment weeks ago. Since then, 2/3 of my House Democratic colleagues have joined on as co-sponsors, and just yesterday, House Democratic leadership endorsed impeachment proceedings against Kristi Noem. We have a lot on our plate to stop the cruelty in our streets and in our communities. There are conversations around funding and structural reforms that have to move forward, and we have to be forceful and bold. But we cannot have a conversation around accountability if we do not begin with the agents and the leaders of DHS who have made this violence possible.
Okay, so there you go. Again, just trying to provide some evidence for my case of really this, the changing of talking points. Abolishing ICE, I don't think is ever going to be a thing. Obviously, it just can't happen. Very hard to happen. I mean, anything can happen, right? But I think right now, with the talking points shifting to specifically focusing on a Kristi Noem, I think if there was ever a probability or a chance where something might happen, it would be that. Where maybe there can be more unification in the Democrat Party. But, you know, you guys can leave your comments. Let me know how you feel about this. Again, just giving you guys some more evidence. The shift in talking points on Kristi Noem. I told you guys this wasn't going to be the most one-sided show. We go back and forth here. Here we go.
Who voted to confirm Kristi Noem as Secretary of DHS. Obviously, here we are now. You've seen what she said, how she's conducted herself in these past days. Do you regret your vote?
Well, I was just talking about this on the Senate floor. And look, a year ago, as a Michigander that has a bunch of border crossings, some of the busiest border crossings, I need to work with Department of Homeland Security every day, with Customs and Border, with Border Patrol every day. We have a new bridge that's coming in 2026. So I had Kristi Noem in my office, and I talked to her about those things, and I needed a productive relationship. And I don't regret as a Michigander that I was trying to have some sort of relationship with someone I need. But over the past year, I mean, it's just, she's beyond the pale of fundamentally not understanding who we are as Americans. Just this past weekend, she called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist. She just doesn't understand in her cabinet secretary role, her responsibilities. And so she should resign. If not, the president should fire her. And if not, then we should impeach her. And
so there you go. Again, just trying to line it up for you guys. So you know I'm not making stuff up. Get ready for this possibly next week where we have a push for wanting impeachment. These are all brand new clips and videos. Now, again, there's even Senator Fetterman who says he's a Democrat. He wants Kristi Noem fired, but he's the only Democrat I can find right now who's not wanting to shut the government down. We keep seeing him over and over really say this.
2 months. And for me, I mean, as you just correctly pointed out, ICE already has their funding already because of the big, beautiful bill at this point. So for me, I would love to have some modest kinds of changes and to make the ICE process better, safer for everybody. And I want to just, focus on deport every criminal migrant in the nation and secure our border because, our party, we failed at the border and it was a disaster, during the Biden administration. So for me, that's what I want. But for me, shutting the government down and pushing our military and not go without a paycheck for like 45 days that we had to do, I can't support that. But I do hope we're able to just focus on the DH1 and we can have a bipartisan conversation to make some of the kinds of the appropriate and refocus what the true mission about ICE should be in that.
Okay, so again, just trying to show you guys, Fetterman has not changed his stance, but don't get it twisted. He has actually posted on his X account, social media, that he does think Kristi Noem should resign. So don't get that twisted. He's just pointing out the obvious that they are possibly wanting to get rid of ICE or defund ICE. ICE has a lot of money right now. And just so you guys are aware, also don't get this twisted. The president has not indicated he wants to fire Kristi Noem. In fact, in yesterday's show, we talked about there's like 4 different clips of President Trump reiterating he's okay with Kristi Noem. No, there's no issues there. So, giving you both the talking points. Now, here's Adam Schiff. Let's see what Mr. Adam Schiff has to say. We're seeing a lot more posting on social media from politicians here, especially as we get closer to this very big vote.
Take on something that's just happened today that I think you should know about. So in Georgia, in Fulton County, the FBI executed a search warrant at an election center to get election records from 2020.
I'm sure you guys already know about this. This is like the biggest news ever. I haven't covered it on my channel. I'm probably not going to go into too much detail with it. It's not really my area of expertise, or I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything. But when it comes to that story, I didn't feel confident enough to give you the best information.
So you remember that this county was the center of some of the election denial efforts in 2020 when Trump begged, pleaded, tried to coerce Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State in Georgia, to find 11,780 votes that did not exist.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Well, he is still trying to prove a non-existent fraud. But more than that, this is part of a pattern of the federal government under Trump trying to interfere in local conduct of elections. We're seeing it in Georgia. We're seeing it in other places as well, where they are trying to seize voter records. In Minnesota, one of the conditions articulated to the governor for essentially getting out of Minnesota was turning over their voter rolls. So this is something we need to pay attention to. This is the beginning of an effort to assault our elections, to try to interfere with the midterms. It may take many forms, but we're seeing one of them right now with this FBI abuse in Fulton County, Georgia.
Okay, so there is Adam Schiff, his opinion on that. I try to do my best to give you guys all the different perspectives, and whether or not you agree with that, that's what Mr. Adam Schiff has to say. Now, let's go ahead and move forward here. We do have some talking points from the mayor of Minneapolis. Here we go. Oh, and somebody actually left a very generous $5 donation. Thank you. Born Hawkeye says, election fraud needs to be exposed. It will. Thank you for your generous donation.
All right, Mayor, I want to introduce you, Munira Ali Mira, a Somali-American resident from Minneapolis and a second-year law student at the University of Minnesota as well. A lot of law students that are represented here. You previously worked as a law clerk for the city of Minneapolis. Munira, what is your question?
Awesome. Mayor Frey, what material commitments are you?
Oh, why did that cut out? All right, that wasn't the full clip. My bad. Oh, let's go here. My bad.
Joining us right now is the Minneapolis Mayor, Jacob Frey. Thanks so much for being with us. You talked to the president on Monday. The president described it as a very good, his words, conversation. Today, he accused you of, quote, playing with fire by not enforcing federal immigration laws or agreeing to enforce. Why do you not want to enforce them? And also, how do you characterize the conversations and the feedback you've been getting from the president?
The conversation with the president was productive. It was collegial. But I am saying the same things now that I said then. And that is this. We have a job to do in the city of Minneapolis, and that job is to keep people safe. We are going to do our jobs, not the federal government's jobs. We are required to respond to 911 calls, to prevent murders and homicides and carjackings from happening. I want our police officers spending every single second focused on that keeps the residents of our cities safe.
Now look, Tom Homan in today's messaging said, apparently they will be honoring detainers or may be honoring detainers. Tom Homan has always agreed with a lot of the mayors and has always said, I understand you have a job to do, but we're actually there to help you guys with the criminals. And if they happen to be an illegal immigrant, just tell us and we will, take care of that. And I am curious how you guys feel about this answer, because I think the main question was, how do you navigate that issue of you have an illegal immigrant who's a criminal, but you are also saying you want to fight crime, but you don't want to work with federal operations when it has to do with deportations?
I'll tell you what I don't want them doing. I don't want them spending a single second hunting down a father who just dropped his kids off at daycare, who's about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy, he makes our city a better place. We're proud to have him in Minneapolis. So are we going to enforce federal immigration law? No, we don't now. We haven't for decades.
And again, I know what a lot of you are thinking. I just have to reiterate this. The Trump administration keeps saying, okay, we know you don't enforce immigration, but what if they are a criminal when you just posted in that same social media tweet, we want to find the criminals?
And a big part of that is I want our police officers spending their limited amount of time actually producing safety for the city.
Okay. Moving forward.
All right, Mayor, I want to introduce you, Munira Ali Mira, a Somali-American resident from Minneapolis and a second-year law student at the University of Minnesota as well. A lot of law students that are represented here. You previously worked as a law clerk for the city of Minneapolis. Munira, what is your question?
That's awesome.
Mayor Frey, what material commitments are you making to community members, our community members, who have been harmed, detained, or have had their loved ones brutalized? As the mayor of the city, what concrete actions will you and the city of Minneapolis take, such as providing financial support, coordinating resources, or pursuing legal action?
All of the above, providing financial support, coordinating legal resources, and of course pursuing action. These are actions that are underway, and we need to bolster them even further.
Now, I do have to point out, for context, the mayor of Nashville allegedly made these same statements as far as, we want to help out our immigrant community, is what he says. And an entire investigation was done to see what money was being used to help who. Because if that's taxpayer money that's going to illegal immigrants, obviously you get into that very gray area, no matter how it's funneled or chained, allegedly. It doesn't have to be a direct transaction from the state or local governments. It can be government to volunteer group to said person, allegedly. So keep that in mind. With statements like this, you do get into a gray area.
So first, we are proactively and responsively suing based on the unconstitutional conduct that is happening in our streets. Second, we are working with a number of victims of these unconstitutional actions to try to hook them up with organizations where they can themselves have standing to sue. Third, we have a task force that is set up so that we've got communication channels that are in line so that we get through this most difficult of situations. And finally, look, our entire city enterprise has been operating over the last several weeks, if not months, to do everything possible that we can to keep our residents safe and to have an emergency response to what's presently taking place. And that includes things like having our community service officers deliver food. These are soon-to-be police officers deliver food for people that would otherwise be afraid to go out of their homes. This is everything that's happening through offices of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs to make sure that they have legal supports in place if
And by the way, this has been happening in Minneapolis and St. Paul for a while, like months before the Nick Shirley video or more federal agents going into the cities. These networks, if we will, and I've already covered it on my channel. We've been covering these cities for a while now. For months, there's been preparation for the possibility of a federal surge. So keep in mind, this is not like that brand new. The mayor is not giving us the full context as far as volunteer groups, organizations, whatever you want to call them, have already been setting this up for a while now. Randy Wheeler left a very generous $20 donation and said, supposedly there is a Democrat in Ohio running for Congress that says he wants to take out the president. I am tracking that story, and I think it was verified by Fox News as well and other resources. I will be looking into that story. Thank you so much for that generous donation. I have seen that.
When they need them. And here's the other truth. Is it enough? And this is real. No, and I'm sorry. I never in a million years would I have imagined that this kind of thing would happen in America. That the Department of Justice would be weaponized against local people and elected officials, that we'd have this broad invasion of thousands of agents, not to keep people safe, but causing chaos in our street. And so I'm sorry to you, to your community, and to your soon-to-be profession as a lawyer. And if I could just add one more thing, we need more people just like you.
Okay, and just to verify that comment, what you said, just so you guys are aware, yeah, that is circulating right now like crazy as far as some of the comments made from a Democrat candidate, and that's actually the Ohio Capitol Journal, and a ton of other sources are talking about this, so don't worry, I will be keeping you up to date with that as more information surfaces. We do know more and more people have been arrested for these types of comments on social media as far as possibilities for direct threats. So thank you for that generous donation and helping out the show. All right, I think you guys got enough of that. Now, this is pretty big too. Bill O'Reilly went in on Chris Cuomo. Absolutely in. Let me know if you guys saw this, but man, Mr. Bill O'Reilly was not happy with some of the either rhetoric, if you want to call it that, with Chris Cuomo.
When you have a situation where there's passion and chaos and violence, people are going to get hurt. And I have said, as I just mentioned, got to bring it down. And it's the responsibility of the federal government to bring it down. But if you're going to sit there and tell News Nation viewers that Frey is providing local protection for federal agents,
I never said that.
And you're misleading your audience.
I never said that.
They are not.
I explained why he said
yes, you
no.
are. Oh, Frey didn't say that.
No, I'm not.
You just told me. Oh, Frey didn't say that.
I just had his quote up on the screen. I just had the quote up on the screen, Bill. It says exactly what I said.
Resources.
Bill.
Hold it. Resources is a code. Yeah. They're not providing protection for the federal agents. Frey knows it. He's a punk, okay? Trump went out of his way to talk to him, and according to Trump, Frey, they came to détente, and then the next day, Frey goes out and says, blank you again. He's a punk.
And look, what Bill O'Reilly is saying, I am seeing it on the internet a lot too as I do research. Not a lot of people fully trust Frey, if we're just going to be honest here. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But you cannot fault people for not fully, I guess, trusting or believing. Because like Bill O'Reilly is saying, in one sense or social media post, and we just heard Mayor Frey said, everything was good. We had a very good, productive conversation. And then the next social media post, the next day, we're not going to work with you. And I think that's who Bill O'Reilly is representing as far as that rhetoric.
can't.
I am going to predict right now that down the road, he's going to be charged. Frey is going to be charged.
With what? Okay. Not liking Trump? What's he going to be charged with?
Insurrection Act.
Wow.
Look, the Insurrection Act, look, they may charge it with them, but it's because they have absolutely no respect for the Constitution or the administration of justice. But the idea that this is an insurrection, just read the act, Bill. It's not even a close call. You would fail out of law school. It's not even close.
Oh, come on.
Where is the proof of an organized resistance to overthrow the government?
Now, I do want to point out, as of right now, J.D. Vance has reiterated, and so has the president. He's reiterated. As of right now, I don't see the need for the Insurrection Act. Don't see the need for the U.S. military. As of right now, there are troops on standby. That's what we know up in Alaska and North Carolina. And what we also know is that Tom Homan wants to downsize. He wants less federal agents. So as far as the Insurrection Act, again, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's still looming, if you will.
The proof is that there is federal law that has to be enforced over local law, and Frey refuses to do that. Okay? He is raising the level of
He's not in
defiance.
charge. He's not in charge of that.
Sure
what
he
he's
is.
supposed to do,
he's
sanctuary
compelled
cities have been
to
found
obey
constitutional.
federal law.
All right, so just wanted to show you guys that, a bit of a back and forth. I think they both really represent, the talking points that are really happening as far as the debate of what's happening in Minneapolis and Minnesota. Now, I thought I had another Rand Paul clip for you guys. Rand Paul has been circulating quite a lot as far as him not being happy with the Alex Preddy situation. I'm sure you guys have probably seen some of that. Here's what he has to say, also on Newsmax.
I think after seeing this, if you call this a good shooting, you aren't watching the video. This was a real tragedy and a mistake. The man had been disarmed and then was shot 10 times. I want ICE to do a good job. I want ICE to get rid of the violent people in our communities. But we can't have it if we say things like, oh, yeah, well, he was an assassin and he was a domestic terrorist. If we say things that are obviously not true, the situation is going to get worse.
I agree that some of the administration made this worse by saying things that obviously were untrue, and we did.
Okay, just trying to show you guys that's what Mr. Rand Paul had to say. I'm sure you guys have been seeing that already, so I'm curious what you have to say about that. I think I had this synced up for you. Yeah, there we go.
Well, most of the people who have been deported or have left the country have done so voluntarily, and many of them have gotten a check, just the way he is describing. I think a little over 2 million have self-deported, and only 600 and something thousand have gone out.
Okay, so then why do we need these people on this?
Which is a lot, by the way. I think that's what the Trump administration was hoping would happen at the very beginning when they had these deportation orders, or Scott Jennings likes to use the words marching orders, but that wasn't happening, and then we saw a very aggressive push for deportations. Do you guys remember early on, President Trump was not that happy with Tom Homan as far as the numbers, and even Tom Homan said he's not happy with himself. The numbers need to go up. And those numbers apparently did go up once there was financial incentive. But I think the biggest incentive when it came to self-deportation was actually the ability to possibly come back, not so much that couple $1,000s, which is a lot for some of these other countries.
Street doing what they're doing in Minneapolis.
Because they can't get them in the jails. In virtually every other place in America, you have cooperation. You go into the jail, you get an administrative transfer. It takes virtually no people to do that. In Minneapolis, they won't let them in the jails, and they won't let the local police engage if they're under attack as federal law enforcement. So you have to send extra agents to guard the agents that you send.
I'm sorry? You think that because there's a policy like that in the jail in Minneapolis, that the agents that did what they did to Alex Preddy were justified? That's the connection that you're making?
I did not say that. But I'm telling you that there should be a full investigation, which is exactly what the president said.
Okay. Thank you for your very generous $10 donation, Anita. And thank you for being a member. you said you're still doing a great job reporting everything. Keep up the good work. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And God bless you, and God bless everyone else. Thank you, guys. And again, if you're new here, we do this every morning, so please turn on your notifications or please subscribe. We have another, I think it's a little bit of a contentious clip here. Again, now that the new Alex Preddy video has been released, we're starting to see a lot more dialogue back and forth. But we're not seeing too much of direct comment from certain organizations as far as how they feel about that video.
Later.
Well, let's be clear. Betty Johnson's right. He's a violent psychopath who is hell-bent on attacking federal law enforcement. We just saw that on video. I mean, he clearly spit at the law enforcement officer. He clearly was doing some sort of jujitsu kicks against the vehicle, which, resulted in the vehicle being smashed and broken. And I think I just want to point out, as someone who does believe in the Second Amendment, and there was so much made about his firearm, responsible gun owners in the concealed carry community, in the gun community, no one who's a responsible gun owner provokes and escalates a fight. That is rule number one if you're going to carry a firearm, is that you automatically lose every fight. You walk away, you don't escalate situations, less not with law enforcement or with anyone else. He is someone who acted wildly irresponsible. Now, fast forward 11 days. He did not. Same video. That was the same concept. The video shows he did not pull a weapon at the time he was shot. So I do, commend DHS for putting these officers on modified duty. I think there needs to be an investigation of what happened. You're not.
Yeah, and I think it's a very crucial point. And I think, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think about the second video. Do you think it's relevant to the current situation, or do you think it's relevant for its own situation? I actually, if you guys are just joining, Scott Jennings made that very clear. That does not supersede the fact that we have this current investigation, and you can't, bring that into this investigation as far as what happened with the shooting. So I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Supposed to get shot by police, right? That's not supposed to happen. And clearly there was some incident or some trigger, some cause that caused these officers to fire, and there should be an investigation. But the media narrative about this guy, that he was the second coming of the Lord and he was just this peaceful guy, that's disproven by that video and Betty Johnson's
I think it's outrageous, honestly, that you just called this man a psychopath. You don't know what happened before this incident. We saw him kick in a taillight. The officers respond by looking like they do beat kind of the crap out of him onto the ground. And then what happens 8 days later is completely separate from what happens here. So I think, honestly, with all due respect, calling this man who was killed over the weekend a psychopath just based on that is really, I just think, outrageous and wrong.
Look, what we saw you a psychopath too, Nira.
Well, then you'd be wrong about that too.
Okay. So, still waiting on some more comments from others, if you will, as far as this particular situation. Thank you for the very generous $10 donation from Shadrach. Christ is King. Appreciate all you do, T-SPLY. Keep it up. And yeah, God bless all of you guys. And make sure to seek Christ. Thank you guys so much. And so that is pretty much like all of the most relevant updates. I don't want to overwhelm you or give you irrelevant stuff, but as of right now, the rhetoric is we have to see what happens. We have to see if there's going to be communication between Mr. Tom Homan and the mayor of Minneapolis and St. Paul as far as these retainers. That's what's going to be really will set the momentum for what happens here. Tom Homan straight up said, I want less federal agents, but I also want you guys to work with us. Give us those retainers. So we do have a bit of a shift in tactics. Again, ICE agents being told, please do not communicate directly with the protesters. Be very careful about that. Be mindful. And so I do sense a bit of a change in tactics in how people are operating on the ground belonging to these deportation operations. But if there's no cooperation, we know Tom Homan and the Trump administration can be very ruthless, if you will, very aggressive. I mean, guys, we saw what Chief Bovino could do and has done. So that's going to be the big determining factor as far as will the detainers actually be granted. And we're also going to be seeing, will the government shut down? I don't know. Maybe. What do you guys think? And I do think more people will definitely be arrested. That's according to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is already indicating, like, hey, we have names. We're doing these investigations. We expect more arrests to come. And of course, the high-profile one everyone's waiting for is those church arrests. So make sure to please subscribe to my channel and turn on those notifications. As soon as that happens, I will 100% go live. Whenever we get massive breaking news, I go live for you guys. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, for those of you involved with the snowstorm, God bless you guys. I hope you're safe. I hope I was as fair as possible for you guys as far as all the different talking points. And yeah, please pray for peace, seek truth, seek Christ, and yeah, God bless all of you. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you all later. Thank you guys for everything. These streams are only successful because of you guys, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys. And peace out.